what teams have to respect behind them. When the Lions hand it off or fake a handoff.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I did want to at least, I know it's later in the show, but it kind of ties perfectly into what we're talking about, just the offensive line in general. It doesn't, I mean, this is what it is, essentially. I mean, Christian Mahogany, hopefully at some point will be returning, but there's no backup coming. Well, Miles Frazier, rookie. Okay. So maybe he can save the entire offensive line. But besides that, there's no help essentially coming for this O-line. I guess the question it's in the prep, can the offensive line be fixed this season? But even more so, could the offensive line be a reason to, I don't know, be more to kind of hesitate being confident that they can ultimately win a Super Bowl, knowing how important this offense is kind of built on the offensive line, running the ball, protecting Goff. He's not the most mobile, but when he's protected, we know how efficient he can be. But what's your guys' concern level with this offensive line? And even the guys that are great, Panay banged up, Taylor's been banged up, just going forward now through the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Hilariously, Christian Mahogany has given up more pressures than anybody this season. So I don't know if that's your answer either.
Yeah. No, I think it's a legitimate seed of doubt into this team's Super Bowl prospects. And, I think we all raised this question when the season began. Would the offensive line remain a strength? We can safely say that it hasn't. Now you begin to wonder, is it a weakness? Is it something that is going to hold them back against defenses like Phillies and Green Bay's? And, Tuesday, when Dan Campbell did his weekly interview with 97.1 The Ticket, and I will accept this association. I think those guys in the morning do a great job interviewing Dan Campbell.
Really do.
They asked him if he needs to potentially modify his aggressive approach on offense, and he said that they'll coach to the strengths of their team, whatever those strengths might be, and that you don't really know what your strengths truly are and who you are as a team until later on in the season. And then as you discover those things, you adapt and you adjust. And then they asked him, well, what would you consider your strengths 10 games in? And
great follow-up.
Let me be very, very clear here. Every single time from the moment he showed up in 2021 that Dan was asked any version of that question, he would always begin by answering with his offensive line. And that extends even to training camp this year. While he may not have been as bullish about it, he was still hopeful that with Panay there and Taylor there and Graham back and two young promising players in Graham and Christian, it would still develop into a strength as the season went on. He answered by listing off their explosive skill players on offense, their quarterback, and then basically every single aspect of their defense, which was justified, and then their special teams coverage units, which is a long way of saying he omitted the offensive line. And Dan Campbell is a very honest, the most honest NFL head coach. And he doesn't say things simply to say things. And while he didn't say it directly, I think he acknowledged for the first time in his tenure here that the offensive line is not a strength right now. Could it turn back into one over the next 2 months if Miles Frazier performs like Mahogany did last year in his 2 spot starts, and if Decker starts feeling better? I suppose. But yeah, that gives me legitimate pause. That has been the backbone of this team's identity for a long, long time. And right now it looks beatable. And that's a jarring thought. And it's part of the fourth down conversation. Like, inevitably, I think one of the reasons that all of us were in such support of Campbell's fourth down calls the past few years is that, like, the NFL average conversion rate didn't apply to the Lions when they had one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. That automatically changed the math. It swung the odds in their favor. Like, Campbell was working with a different calculus. Well, it's changed again for him. And that's why I think he needs to understand or acknowledge that. And I agree, J. Raj, like, entering the Philly game, they were over 70% this year in fourth down conversions. That was one of the best rates in the NFL. But, a lot of those numbers were also put up with a different looking offensive line. Right now, the unit they have, we can say that aside from Sewell, right now, the Lions have an inferior version of the player they had last year at every position. If you go from left tackle, where Decker isn't what he was because of his injuries, to left guard, where it's Awosika, to center where it's Graham in for Frank, even to right guard where Tate has played well, but not like Kevin Zeitler, you're looking at a downgrade at 4 of 5 positions. And I'll just reiterate that I do think that Dan needs to be honest about that. And I think he was this week, but also in the way that he game plans and then calls plays on Sundays. We're going to get back after Jeff throws to our Sleeper sponsor and tells all of our listeners about Sleeper. Take it away, Jeff.
I gotcha. We'll see you back in 30 seconds. Quick message from our sponsor.
Sleeper is the #1 fantasy sports app. It pays to know sports. Pick more or less on top players. Your first pick is on us, so start winning now. Play in Texas, Georgia, Minnesota, and 27 more states. Pick anytime across all sports, pregame or live. Over 10 million players are already on Sleeper. Make your picks count. Score up to 1,000 times your cash. Join today. Get up to $100 credit using the code HMA. Call your shot on Sleeper.
I agree with Will. Like it is a downgrade at every one of those positions. I think Sewell's playing as well, if not even slightly better, given how great the run blocking has been for him. Obviously, the Jalen Phillips pressure allowed. He's actually been pretty good in pass protection as well. Decker's playing at about what 70-80% of who he is, and honestly, I think he's holding up really well given what we know he's fighting.
I commend the shit out of him. Like, let me be clear.
Like I actually said to him this week, I watch the tape closely every week, and very rarely do I look at his performance and go, that shoulder, he doesn't look right. Like he's faking it as well as you can, if you will. It's really the interior that's been the problem. I thought before the injury, Mahogany was not the player we thought he was going to be coming out of camp. I thought he had such an awesome camp, and the inconsistencies were there. Graham is not Frank Ragnow. He never was going to be. He's not a bad player per se, but it's average versus all pro. Like that's a golf, right? And Ratledge is going through the rookie inconsistency. I thought he had 2 really good games before Philly, which was another valley in this up and down season. And that was always going to be expected, right? Like Frank Ragnow, all pro multiple times, had that as a rookie. He really struggled as a rookie, and he was playing guard as well. So I don't see it as a weakness per se. I think right now they're an average unit across the board.
I would agree.
I think PFF ranks them 10th in the NFL as of yesterday with all their different metrics, but they're not the dominant unit they were. And it's really tough when you got used to having that dominance. It was the engine that made things go, and then suddenly you've just got a little consistent 4-cylinder engine. Like it's just a tough thing to swallow when it doesn't look as good, but that's just the reality of it.